Hello and good evening. Today it is Thursday, July 7th, 2022. And for this video today, I want to talk about the Memorial Cup format change that was made, or yeah, the point system change that was made for the 2022 Memorial Cup. So, I just want to start off by saying this. Isn't it nice that we can finally have a Memorial Cup again after 3 years? And also, a huge shout out to the CHL for doing a, uh, a special jersey for the host team to wear for the first game of the Memorial Cup again. Um, I thought that was really cool that they actually did a jersey again, and it's been a long time since we've seen anything Memorial Cup related for that matter. So that was also a cool thing that they brought back this year, which I was very happy about. But anyway, I want to talk about the point system in the Memorial Cup that was introduced this year, and that's going to be the focus of this video. But I also want to quickly talk about something else as well. I think it's new for this year, and if I'm wrong exactly how the overtime rules now work as of this past Memorial Cup, feel free to correct me in the comment section down below. But for overtime, what it looks like they've done is they've made it so that it's a 20-minute 3-on-3 overtime period and then a shootout if that cannot decide a game in the round robin. At least in the round robin. I think for the playoffs, everything past the round robin, it's sudden death, which I think that's the way it should be. But for the round robin to have at least 20 minutes of overtime, especially when it's 3-on-3 overtime where the ice is much, much more open with four less players on the ice, which I'm saying four because two from each team. You've got way more open ice with 3-on-3 overtime. You have way more odd man rushes in 3-on-3 overtime, and it really opens up the ice. And obviously, when you have 3-on-3 overtime, usually you've got a better chance of seeing a team score than with 5-on-5 or 4-on-4 overtime, for that matter. But yeah, I'm really happy to see that the Memorial Cup has changed the rules to have a 20-minute 3-on-3 overtime period. In fact, I would like to see all three of the leagues that form the CHL, the WHL, the OHL, and the QMJHL, as well as the National Hockey League, switch to at least one 20-minute 3-on-3 overtime period, then a shootout. In the NHL, even just a 10-minute 3-on-3 overtime period would be a big improvement, in my opinion, because I would much rather see games decided playing actual hockey than a skills competition. Well, a breakaway competition, to be specific. Um, I, I mean, I know there are people out there that love the shootouts. I don't. I don't think a breakaway competition should decide a game, whether it's a regular season game, a round robin game, or a playoff or medal round game in an international tournament. I don't like shootouts. In fact, if I had my way, I'd rather see shootouts eliminated from hockey altogether and saved for special events like the All-Star games or or for preseason games. That's it. And I know not everybody's going to agree with me, but I don't like the shootouts. I mean, I think the NHL should either do 20 minutes of 3-on-3 and then call the game a draw if you can't decide a winner, even though I'm sure a lot of people do prefer having a winner, one winner and one loser. If you do, I respect your opinion, but I don't know. I think it should either be 20 minutes of 3-on-3 and then a tie if there's no winner, or sudden death 3-on-3 overtime till there's a winner. I mean, it's not like they don't do sudden death overtime, or basically, yeah, sudden death overtime, for example, Major League Baseball or even the NBA, where if the teams are tied after an overtime, they keep going until a time period is over and a team has more points than the other. Same with baseball, where they'll keep playing in whole innings until one team has more runs than the other. Now, anyway, I know that's sidestepping from my main focus in the video, but I wanted to talk about it because I think, even if there's at least even just having a 20-minute 3-on-3 overtime, in my opinion, is a huge improvement. Um, it makes a shootout a lot less. Um, it makes a shootout a lot less likely to happen. And as much as I would prefer not to see games decided by shootouts, I would rather see enough overtime to hopefully prevent as many games as possible going to a shootout than to have the current system, which I think is still how the WHL, the OHL, and the QMJHL operate in the regular season, where you have 5 minutes of 3-on-3, then a shootout. I think that at least if there's a 10-minute or better yet, a 20-minute overtime period of 3-on-3, like the Memorial Cup this year, it opens up the ice a lot more. And it significantly reduces the chances of games of winding up in a breakaway competition to decide a winner. Now, jumping to the point system, I'm not going to lie, I'm not a fan of the new system. I mean, I get the argument for saying, hey, a regulation win should mean more than an overtime win. If you feel that way, hey, you feel that way. I mean, we're not all gonna agree on this. I guarantee it. But I just, after all of these years of doing things a certain way, why are they changing it now? I mean, whether it's the NHL or the Canadian Hockey League or even the American Hockey League, for crying out loud, or even the ECHL, games are decided where if you win, you win. Whether it's overtime or regulation, you get 2 points. If you lose in regulation, too bad for you, you don't get any points. And then if you lose in overtime or a shootout, you walk away with a point. I don't see why they needed to change it. I could see them saying, "Hey, let's change things up and see where it goes," but I'm not a fan of it. I don't To me, the way I look at it is that a win is a win. Now, I know you could throw a 180-degree spin on that and say, "Hey, well, isn't a loss a loss?" Well, I don't want to say that your argument's invalid because it's not. I think you do have a valid point, but I disagree because I think that if two teams cannot decide a game, if both teams cannot decide a game in regulation time, I do think that both teams deserve, even the loser deserves 1 point. Because I think forcing a game past regulation means more than winning a game in regulation versus overtime. You may or may not agree with me. I mean, I know, for example, international hockey has done 3 points for a long, long time. I know double IHF events use the 3 point system, where a regulation win is 3 points, an overtime win is two, an overtime loss or a shootout loss is worth only 1 point, while of course a regulation loss means you walk away with nothing. But I'm not a big lover of the double IHF using that system myself, to be honest. I do think that the system that we've had here in North America for decades now is the best way to go. At least that's my opinion. I don't expect you all to agree. But yeah, I just don't see how changing the point system is why it's necessary, especially when we've had it going the way it's been for so long. Maybe it's just because I'm stuck in my ways. Maybe that's it, but to me, I look at it like this. I think a win is a win. And something that I noticed, I'm not just saying this, I mean, obviously, if you look at my jerseys here, you know which league I watch the most out of the three in the CHL, eh? But, truth is, did I want the WHL champion Edmonton Oil Kings to win the Memorial Cup because they were the WHL champions? Yes. But that's not why I didn't care for the way the round robin was decided between who moved on between Hamilton and Edmonton. So, jumping to that, the Hamilton Bulldogs and the Edmonton Oil Kings at the end of the round robin both had a win each. But because the Bulldogs won their game in regulation and the Oil Kings won their game in overtime, the Bulldogs ended the round robin with one extra point over the Oil Kings to knock the Oil Kings out of the round robin. So when I look at it like that, I'm not just saying this because I wanted the Oil Kings to win. I mean, from an impartial standpoint, whether it's the Oil Kings at the bottom or it was, for example, the St. John Sea Dogs, who were my number 2 choice to win the Memorial Cup because they were the host team. If whether it was the Oil Kings or the Sea Dogs or the Bulldogs or even the Shawinigan Cataracts, I think it's Cataracts. I hope I'm pronouncing that properly because it sounded like it just said cataracts, like, you know, the issue that people have in their eyes. Ouch. That's obviously not what the team's named after. Yeah, my bad. But I think it is pronounced cataract. But if I'm pronouncing it wrong, hey, feel free to correct me. But anyway, what I didn't like about the Bulldogs moving on automatically over the Oil Kings was that both teams had a win. Now, I get it. The rules, the new rules are the rules. Under the current rules that the Canadian Hockey League has brought in for the Memorial Cup as of this year, this past Memorial Cup, under the rules, it is what it is. If you don't win in regulation and another team does, then it's too bad for you. And I get that. But at the end of the day, I look at it like this. Both teams won a game. The Oil Kings won a game. The Bulldogs won a game. Now, I know the argument that, hey, the Bulldogs won in regulation. I get that. But I don't like how both teams both got a win, but the Bulldogs moved on over the Oil Kings. Now, you could flip that again and say, hey, Roxzilla, well, for example, both teams had 2 losses, but the Bulldogs moved on because one of those losses was in overtime. I'm just using this as an example. Well, my answer to that is that I think that's fair because the Bulldogs managed to not lose a game in regulation. They got that extra point. They forced another team to be in a tie with them by the end of regulation. I think that's deserving of a point. But, you know, for overtime losses, I think it's fair for a team to get a point out of it, even if they lose. But for regulation wins over overtime wins, I'm not a fan of that. That's just my opinion. That's just my 2 cents on the matter. But yeah, that's something that I was not a fan of. And it's not because of who got bumped out. But another little curveball that I want to throw in this video too is that every single team in the Memorial Cup plays 3 games in the round robin, guaranteed. So you play each of the other 3 teams you are competing with once each, one time each. So that is an odd number of teams, and maybe my math is wrong, but I don't know about you viewers watching this video, but I don't think there's going to be as many tiebreaker games moving forward. And the thing is, wouldn't you want to have as many tiebreaker games as possible if you are the Canadian Hockey League and you are the team that's hosting this event? I mean, if I were the St. John Sea Dogs, I would want the Oil Kings and the Bulldogs playing in that tiebreaker game. Why? Because that's extra ticket sales. That is extra ticket sales, and they're getting some of that money, obviously, for it, or they wouldn't be hosting. I mean, obviously, with the rules, you have different amounts of points that can line up where, you do have tiebreakers once in a while, and sometimes you don't. But I don't know. Maybe my math is off, but when you have the different variances or different, what's the term I'm looking for here? Shoot. When you have a couple of different ways of rewarding points for wins on top of losses, it creates more chances for teams to end up with more points over other teams. If you get what I'm saying, I don't mean to confuse you, but I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong. I'm willing to say that I could be wrong, but judging from my initial math, now that you're giving winning teams that win in regulation an odd number of points, wouldn't that mean there's less tiebreaker games moving forward? Or I mean, if I'm wrong, hey, I mean I'm wrong, but if I'm the Canadian Hockey League, I would want to milk as many games in the Memorial Cup as possible. I mean, I would want those tiebreaker games because it's not just ticket revenue, it's also having an extra game nationally televised. I mean, if I were the CHL, if I were the three leagues that form, or if I was running the Memorial Cup and I was, say, I was the commissioner of the CHL or one of the three leagues that form it, I would want that tiebreaker game happening more often than not because that's extra revenue for the CHL and even the host team. But as I say, maybe my math is wrong. If it is, it is. But just the way I look at it, when every team plays 3 games, which is an odd number of games, and each team, and when the regulation wins are worth 3 points, an odd number too, it sounds to me like it's just the way I see it is that it looks to me rather that it's probably going to lead to less tiebreaker games. Maybe I'm wrong, but yeah, as I say, I'm not a fan of the new point system in the Memorial Cup. I don't think it was a change that needed to happen. I feel it's completely unnecessary. I personally don't like the idea of a regulation win meaning more than an overtime win personally. I think of it as a win is a win, a regulation loss is a regulation loss, and if two teams can't just have a winner at the end of regulation, the losing team should get a point. Now, they could also do what they do in, say, the NFL, for example, or actually, let's go with Major League Baseball, where it's either you win or you lose. I would be open to a system like that too, because then it's absolute. It's either you've got more wins than the other team. It's not, oh, you've got 32 wins, but the team below you's got 30 wins and passes you in the standings because they took more games to overtime. I mean, I could see an argument for the loser point not being something people like either. I can, but I could go on probably for longer, but I'm going to cut this video off at this point. Do you agree with me? Do you disagree with me? Feel free to leave your comments down below. I'd love to hear what other people think about this. Personally, I don't like the format that they've switched to, but what I think may not be what you, the viewer, thinks. So feel free to comment down below. I'd love to hear your opinions. But with that, guys, I am going to call it a wrap at this point. So with that, take care. And as always, bye for now.